Please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at our top story. A day after South Africa officially declared its general election result, signs of possible turmoil have already started to surface. It has been a bruising election for the African National Congress and President Cyril Ramaphosa. For the first time in 30 years, South Africa will now head to a coalition era. Despite the ANC being rejected by over half of the country, President Ramaphosa will not step down. In a speech straight after the final results were announced, President Ramaphosa called on all political parties to overcome their differences and to find common ground to form the first national coalition government.
Our people have spoken. Whether we like it or not, they have spoken. As the leaders of political parties, as all those who occupied or occupy positions of responsibility in society, we have heard the voices of our people, and we must respect their choices and their wishes. What this election has made plain is that the people of South Africa expect their leaders to work together to meet their needs. They expect the parties for which they have voted to find common ground, to overcome their differences, to act and work together for the good of everyone.
Let's take a look at how South Africa's National Assembly looks after this election and how it looked before the election. Now, the final tally gave the ruling ANC 159 seats in the 400-seat National Assembly, its lowest in a general election. Opposition Democratic Alliance has won 87 seats. Zuma's MK party has 58 seats. The Economic Freedom Fighters, or the EFF, of leftist firebrand leader Julius Malema has 39, and the remaining 57 are with other smaller parties. Now, in the previous assembly, the African National Congress had 230 seats. John Steenhuisen's Democratic Alliance had 84. Julius Malema's Economic Freedom Fighters were at 44, and other smaller parties, including the IFP, had 42 seats. So this election, the ANC has lost 71 seats. Its vote share slumped to just over 40% from the 57% that it won in 2019. The Democratic Alliance witnessed a minor jump in vote share. Now, the new parliament is to meet within 2 weeks, and its first task will be to elect a president to form a new government. South Africans do not vote directly for the president. Instead, they elect 400 members of National Assembly, who then select the president by a simple majority. But with no outright winner for the first time in South Africa's post-apartheid democracy, the ANC will need outside support to secure Ramaphosa's re-election. The party says it hopes to achieve a deal as fast as it can. The Democratic Alliance leader, John Steenhuisen, repeated his pledge to work with the ANC. He said he wants to head off the doomsday coalition between the ANC, Zuma's MK, and the EFF. He called pledges in the MK and EFF manifestos an all-out assault on the Constitution.
At the time, I said that if the scenario materializes, and I quote, "The DA will make it our #1 priority and do absolutely everything in our power to prevent an ANC-EFF doomsday coalition from taking power," unquote. Purpose of these initial talks will be to gather information of what options are available to the DA as we seek to rescue South Africa from doomsday.
Now, signs of a possible turmoil are emerging from Jacob Zuma's camp. The graft-tainted former president boycotted the results ceremony, and his party refused to recognize the outcome. Jacob Zuma's supporters say they will not join a coalition unless there is an agreement to pardon Zuma for a conviction that saw him banned as a parliamentary candidate. They also want the constitution rewritten to permit him to stand.
They must mark our way as commanders of this revolution. We fought for this country. We joined MK at the youngest age of us. We went to exile and fight for this country. And we told them, when they were looking down on us like nothings, they were on power because of us, because of the fight we put. And we are demonstrating to them now, with that power you were given by us, and we are taking our power back. And we will take this country. And we will take this country, as Umkhonto was saying.
Jacob Zuma was forced out of office as president and ANC leader in 2018 amid several corruption allegations. He was jailed for contempt of court in 2021. Now, Zuma's jail sentence triggered riots that left more than 350 people dead. Now, with tensions simmering and political uncertainty, President Cyril Ramaphosa is urging for calm. How and when South Africa weathers this political storm and comes out on the other side remains to be seen. For more, we have with us political analyst Phumlani Majozi, who is joining us live from Johannesburg, South Africa. Thank you for being with us, Phumlani.
Hello, good afternoon.
Great to have you with us. Now, Phumlani, the
Thank
ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula said that Ramaphosa would remain as the party leader, and any demands from others that he resign for the talks to go ahead was, and I quote, a no-go area. So is this the ANC showing a united front in face of the results? And what do we make of this?
Oh, well, remember that what is called the MK party, that is led by former President Jacob Zuma, that really changed, was the game changer in the election, given that they rose from nothing to having 58, seats in parliament, and also getting about 15% of the vote. Remember, this was a faction of the ANC. It was a faction of the ANC that was dissatisfied with Ramaphosa, that didn't like Ramaphosa, saw him as a threat to Mr. Zuma himself. And this faction decided to say, you know what, we are breaking away. Zuma decided to say, I am breaking away from the ANC. I'm going to start my own thing. But remember that he broke away informally because he still remains the member of the ANC. Yet he has been campaigning for a different party for the intent of what? For the intent of weakening the ANC. And given the results that came out where the ANC dropped from 58% in 2019 to 40%, that was a serious, beating, experienced by the ANC. So now what's happening is that the current ANC is basically that is led by Ramaphosa. It's a Ramaphosa faction, and it is determined to unite, to rally behind Ramaphosa and fight back against the MK party that is led by Jacob Zuma, and somehow wants to dislodge or remove Ramaphosa. So it's a battle of the ANC factions, though the other one has decided to go away and form a different party.
Right. And Phumlani, what is likely then in terms of coalition talks and possible partners if Ramaphosa stays on as the head of the ANC party?
Yeah, well, remember that part of them, we've heard that some elements within the MK party, they want, Ramaphosa gone. And that has been clear for us who have been watching the politics of South Africa. It's been very clear that Jacob Zuma and his faction, or the MK party, basically they want Ramaphosa out. And it's emerged that they've made such demands. And of course, as you said earlier, Fikile Mbalula has been very clear, the Secretary General of the ANC, that we are not going to get rid of Ramaphosa. He is with us, right? So now it's not surprising, and you know what's going to happen is that we are likely going to basically have a situation where the ANC will partner with the people who don't have an issue with Ramaphosa, right? Who want Ramaphosa to stay on as president. And those people, who are they? Well, the Democratic Alliance, which is the second biggest party in the country, the biggest opposition party. They are keen, they are okay. I wouldn't say they are keen, but they are okay they've been saying this since 2 years ago, that they would be fine working with Ramaphosa's ANC, because they see Ramaphosa as more of a reformer, someone who believes more in the constitution, thinks that the private sector can play a role, at least to an extent, in the economy. Hence, they are willing to kind of open up channels to work together. So it's the ANC is likely to partner with the people who will be okay with Ramaphosa staying in power. And amongst those people, the most prominent ones is the DA, Democratic Alliance, that is saying we are willing to work with Ramaphosa, and they want to keep him in power.
And Ramaphosa said in his address that as they take their seats in Parliament and the National Assembly, they do so as representatives of the South African people who put them there. With these results, this is a big shift in the South African political landscape. What happens now?
Well, basically, this has humbled the ANC. That's why you hear those kind of words from Fikile Mbalula himself on Sunday during his first press conference after the results. We can sense the language from the president himself as well. They've been humbled. This result that has really shocked them. They've been humbled by this result. Now, what's the way forward? Within 14 days, there has to be a sitting of the parliament to really decide on the president of the country. But by that sitting of the parliament, the ANC must have already finalized its its decision as to who it's going to govern in a coalition with. Now, I must be very clear here. That is, the ANC here are the ones who have a big decision to make on the table. Do they take a route of working with people like the DA, who are sort of more pro-growth, more pro-constitution, more want an economy that is thriving, and more of a private sector business economy? Or do they want to take people like the MK party and the EFF, who I believe will turn this country into something like Venezuela or Zimbabwe, because of their very much radical, economic policies that are very much based on race, very much based on the government doing things in a forceful manner, not really accommodating business growth and a thriving private sector in the country. So the ANC has those two choices. So it's either they take that route or they take the other route of the DA.
Thulani, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa and helping us to understand where South Africa goes from here following these landslide elections.
Thank you.
Confused by the barrage of numbers, deafened by the chorus of experts, disoriented by the flying graphics? Don't worry, we've got you covered. On Firstpost, we're keeping things simple. The most important seats, the high-profile candidates, and the most lucid analysis. As India counts its votes, tune in to Firstpost. Catch our live coverage on June 4th on all our platforms. Also, the special edition of Vantage.